Is there a relationship in your life that you just can't seem to resolve? Maybe it's a conflict with a family member that has never been fully aired out, a falling out with a friend where things were left unsaid, an estrangement where you've tried to work things out and been rebuffed repeatedly, or an ongoing tension that simply simmers beneath the surface year after year. You may have tried to make peace with it, told yourself to let it go, reminded yourself that dwelling on it doesn't help, and yet your mind keeps returning to it, replaying what was said, rehearsing what you wished you'd said, imagining conversations that may never happen, wondering if things will ever change. Most people think of this as a mental habit, something to discipline or distract themselves from. But today I want to show you something different. That loop your mind keeps running, your body is running it too, and the physical cost of that, over months and years, is far greater than most people realize. Welcome back. I'm Madeleine Lowry, a neural retraining specialist. We're continuing our series on relationships and the nervous system. In episode 115, we talked about how early relational experiences get stored as patterns in the nervous system, and how those patterns shape our reactions in present-day relationships. In episode 116, we explored what happens when a specific person in our lives becomes a chronic source of stress, and why certain people trigger reactions that feel much bigger than the moment itself. Today, we're going to zoom out slightly and talk about something that often runs alongside those experiences: unresolved conflict. Not the acute kind, like the argument that gets worked through, feelings that get expressed, and both people move forward, but the chronic kind, the conflict that never closes, the wound that never fully heals, the relationship situation that remains unresolved and quietly present in the background of daily life. And we're going to talk about what that costs the body. Here's something important to understand about how the nervous system works. When a stressful event occurs, the nervous system activates. The stress response mobilizes the body's resources, and once the threat has passed, once the situation is resolved, the nervous system is designed to return to a state of balance and rest. This cycle of activation and recovery is natural and healthy. This is what the body is built for. But that recovery depends on something, a signal that the threat is over. In the case of an acute conflict, one that gets resolved, apologized for, or simply concluded, the signal arrives. The nervous system gets the message. This is finished. You can settle now. But when a conflict remains unresolved, when there is no closure, no resolution, no clear endpoint, that signal never comes. The nervous system stays in a low-level state of activation, still alert, still monitoring, still waiting for resolution that doesn't arrive. And that waiting has a physiological cost. When the nervous system remains in a state of unresolved stress, it doesn't simply pause and wait patiently. It keeps working. Stress hormones like cortisol remain elevated. The immune system shifts into an inflammatory posture. The digestive system operates less efficiently. Sleep becomes lighter and less restorative. Energy regulation becomes less stable. Pain sensitivity can increase. And the body's capacity for repair and healing is quietly reduced. None of this happens dramatically. It happens gradually in the background, below the threshold of obvious awareness, which is exactly what makes it so insidious. People don't often connect their physical symptoms to an unresolved relational situation. They are looking for physical causes for physical symptoms. But the nervous system doesn't separate emotional stress from physical stress. It simply registers ongoing threat and keeps the body prepared to respond to it. One of the most physiologically costly aspects of unresolved conflict is something called rumination. Rumination is the mind's tendency to return again and again to an unresolved problem, to replay it, to analyze it, to search for a solution. From a survival perspective, this makes sense. The brain is wired to keep working on unsolved problems. Unresolved situations feel like open loops, and the mind wants to close them. But here's the problem. When a relational situation is genuinely unresolvable, at least for now, the mental loop has no exit. The mind keeps searching for resolution and keeps not finding it. And every single time the mind returns to that conflict, the body responds. Stress hormones are released. The nervous system activates. Muscles tighten. The body goes through a version of the same stress response it would experience during actual conflict. This means that an unresolved relationship can be activating to the stress response, not just during direct contact with the person or situation, but dozens of times throughout the day. Every time the mind revisits it, every time it surfaces unexpectedly while you're trying to fall asleep, every time something in the environment reminds you of it. For sensitive individuals, this process tends to be especially pronounced. Sensitive nervous systems process experiences more deeply and return to unresolved experiences more frequently, and each return carries a real physiological cost. At this point, many people have been told by well-meaning friends, family members, or even therapists, you just need to let it go. You need to accept what happened and move on. Holding on to this is only hurting you. And there is truth in that observation. Carrying unresolved conflict does hurt us. But telling someone to let go of something like that their nervous system is still treating as unresolved and threatening, is a bit like telling someone to relax while their hand is touching something hot. The nervous system is not holding on out of stubbornness or weakness. It is holding on because, from its perspective, the situation is not yet safe to release. Intellectual understanding, or even genuine insight, is often not enough to change that, because the pattern isn't stored in the thinking mind. It is stored in the subconscious nervous system, and the subconscious does not respond to reasoning the way the conscious mind does. This is why people can spend years in therapy, develop tremendous insight into a situation, understand exactly why they are reacting the way they are, and still find that the reaction persists, still find that the conflict occupies their mind, still find that the body holds the tension of it. Understanding why we're holding on doesn't automatically tell the nervous system it's safe to let go. This brings us to something that many people in this situation eventually face. What do you do when resolution simply isn't possible? When the other person isn't willing to engage? When the relationship is ended and there's no opportunity for closure? When someone has died and the conflict never got resolved? When the situation is so entrenched that nothing changes no matter what you try? In these cases, people often feel genuinely stuck. They feel that healing is contingent on something that is outside their control, that they need an apology that will never come, that they need acknowledgement from someone who will never give it, that they need the situation to be different before they can feel better. That belief, while completely understandable, keeps the nervous system locked in a waiting pattern. It places the possibility of healing in someone else's hands, and someone who may be unwilling, unable, or no longer present to offer it. And so the nervous system waits, and the body pays the price of that waiting. Here's what I want you to understand, especially if you've been carrying an unresolved conflict for a long time. The resolution your nervous system is looking for does not have to come from outside. It can happen from within. With neural retraining, we work directly with the subconscious mind, with a stored emotional charge around the unresolved situation. We are not analyzing what happened. We are not rehearsing conversations. We are not trying to talk the nervous system into letting go. Instead, we allow the subconscious mind to process and neutralize the emotional charge that has kept the situation feeling unresolved and threatening. And as that charge resolves, the nervous system finally receives the signal it has been waiting for. This is no longer an active threat. And you can settle now. And when that happens, the rumination naturally quiets, not because we forced it, but because the nervous system is no longer treating the situation as an open emergency. People often describe a noticeable shift after this kind of work, a sense of genuine lightness, like something that had been running in the background has finally gone quiet. And as the nervous system settles, the body follows. Sleep improves, energy becomes more stable, physical symptoms that were being fed by chronic stress activation begin to ease. Not because we changed the past, not because the other person did something differently, but because the nervous system is finally no longer carrying the weight of it. So, if you are carrying an unresolved conflict, one that your mind returns to and that your body holds, that has never found its way to closure, I want you to know that what you're experiencing is not weakness. It is not failure to move on. It is not a character flaw. It is a nervous system that has been faithfully holding an open file, waiting for a resolution that hasn't arrived through external means. And the good news is that resolution does not have to come from outside. The nervous system can find its way to closure through internal work, through working directly with the subconscious patterns that have kept the wound open. And when that closure comes, something shifts, not just emotionally, but physically. The body, which has quietly been paying the cost of that open file for months or years, finally comes to rest. In our next episode, we're going to talk about one of the most profound forms of unresolved relational stress, grief and loss. What happens in the nervous system when a relationship ends, changes permanently, or was never what we needed it to be. If you'd like to learn more about this work, please visit tcneuralretraining.com. Schedule a free consultation by phone or take our free quiz. And if this episode resonated with you, please follow the podcast, give it a positive rating, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for listening. Content of this podcast copyright 2026 by Twin Cities Neural Retraining. Music by Barbara Ben.